Well, guys, we just got another episode of Raw, man, and this episode was awesome, bro. Papa H was cooking, man. Triple H was cooking. We're so back. This is peak. This is garbage. This episode of Raw, it's 30 minutes before it's over, and I'm already making the review because I don't give a crap about El Grande Starbucks Americano, about AJ Styles in his 50s, about CM Punk Dana in his 50s wrestling a triple threat for the Money in the Bank. R-Truth is getting fired after entertaining us for decades. What kind of jobbers do you have in the locker room that still have jobs and haven't entertained us in years? You understand what I'm saying? How many times are we going to get the War Raiders versus Finn Balor and JD McDonald's? Jeffery Cobb versus R-Truth in his final match. Think about all the jobbers backstage. Karrion Kross, Maxine Dupree. You know what I'm saying? Who else? You want Rusev, D-Lister Black, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, the War Raiders, JD McDonald's, the Wyatt Six, who just went missing off TV for like 5 or 6 months and nobody missed him or cared at all. DIY with Candice LeRae. All of these people have jobs, but R-Truth, who has entertained us more than everyone who I just listed off, and you're telling me that he's fired and they have jobs. You couldn't find a way for R-Truth to at least be a backstage presence, at least play that backstage comedic role that he's been playing perfectly. Give us some entertainment in World Wrestling Entertainment, which they don't entertain us anymore. This is embarrassing. Triple H has zero respect for the people who have sat there and broken their bodies for him, entertained us all throughout these years, and R-Truth's reward is getting fired. And our reward as fans is watching the garbage product every single week from this absolute fraud in Triple H. There was a time when Raw used to have you excited, man. The Raw before a PLE or the SmackDown before a PLE had you pumped up, man. You were amped up, ready to go. You were excited. You were hyped. You were like, man, I want to see the stories. I want to see the matches. I'm so hyped for the big fight field coming up this weekend. Now you're not doing that at all. When's the last time you actually sat before a PLE and were like, wow, I'm so excited. Yeah, Papa H is cooking. No one does that anymore, man. We're not just going to sit here and be bots and go out there and we're eating. No. I ain't trying to yeet to this. This is stupid, and it's bad content. Redundant matches, monotonous segments, boring shows, countless ads, botches all over the place inside of these matches now all the time. People are getting hurt left and right, dang near injuries left and right because no one knows how to wrestle without botching because they're not wrestling. It's embarrassing, man. I don't want to act like this. I don't want to do this. But this product is so bad, and I have the obligation to be honest with you guys on my opinion and my truth no matter what. So this is what it is. It's embarrassing, and you know it, and I know it. And so without further ado, before we get into the video, I want to say something more positive. I wanted to start this video with the camera on to actually say thank you to you guys because the support recently has been sensational. It's been phenomenal. And I want you guys to know I see all the comments, you know what I'm saying, all the love, the hate. You know, you love it, you hate it, you like it, you don't like it. Shut your mouth and enjoy the ride that C-Jax is taking you on. However, I do appreciate all the support. You are respected. You are loved. You are cared for. I respect you. I love you. No, I'm just playing, but you get the point, okay? So with that being said, we're going to get into this garbage Raw review, and I'll catch up on the main event that I missed later, but I had to get this out of the way because something does not sit right. There's a reason why the crowd is still chanting, we want truth. We want R-Truth. We want truth. They're chanting that the whole show because no one cares about what we're watching. Why would I care about War Raiders versus JD McDonald's? Really? Come on, man. Let's get into the review. Now, before we start talking about what actually happened on Raw, because we are going to breeze through this because nothing happened really at all. So we're going to breeze through this, okay? Number one, the John Cena storyline with him ruining wrestling makes no sense. Because if he's actually ruining wrestling in storyline, why wouldn't a team of wrestlers or a group of people come together to actually want to stop him in his tracks and to take the championship from him? You get what I'm saying? It makes no sense for him to be having this plan and it just goes off without a hitch and nobody's confronting this guy. It's stupid, it's weird, and it makes absolutely no sense. It's pretty dumb in my personal opinion. You just had Rollins make his new faction of team of people who, you know, want to save the future of wrestling and want to revolutionize the future of wrestling. And why would they not stop John Cena then? You know, why is the focus on getting a world title? It's just, you know, and Paul Heyman a couple weeks ago promises Sami Zayn, if you go to SmackDown, I'll get you a WWE Championship shot. What? Since when did you have the power to do that? Why didn't you give that power to Roman Reigns when he came back from his return to give him a rematch versus Cody? Why don't you give Rollins a match for the WWE Championship? You know, it's just, but you offer it to Sami Zayn. You know, like, it's so done. Anyways, next we have to talk about what actually started off the night, which was actually the only good part of the night, besides a segment later that was just absolutely hilariously bad, okay? Now, obviously, you had CM Punk starting up the show. CM Punk obviously is going to entertain us on the mic more times than not, and that's just what he did here. He basically talks about how the tables have turned on John Cena, and, you know, he's a WWE champion, but the fact is that CM Punk is coming for that championship. He's ready to be that top guy again. He's ready to hold that world title again. He then proceeds to call The Rock a bald fraud and says Cena sold his soul to him, and then he basically says that he's going to pick up the bones of John Cena after he cashes in on him and calls him the B word, and that's pretty much that. Then he basically says it's time for him to get his championship back. Take back your title that you never lost, yeah? Then we get Sami Zayn. This is why I absolutely skipped the rest of this, all right? The main thing to understand with this is this, right? The first 40 minutes of Raw live, I did not see. You know what I'm saying? Because I was doing something else. But once I turned on Raw, I didn't even go back to watch the full segment of what I missed. I just watched the highlight segments of it on Twitter because there's no need of watching this. Why do I need to see Sami Zayn say that, CM Punk, once you cash in your Money in the Bank, I'm going to challenge you for the world title? I'm Sami Zayn. Whoa. It's like, stop. Nobody wants to listen to this garbage. Sami Zayn's not winning a world title anytime soon. The only way he will is if they have a situation where he wins the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia next year and then goes on to win the world title at a later date and time at Mania or something like that. That's it. If he doesn't win a world title next year, he's never winning one ever. But, he shouldn't be winning one ever regardless, to be honest. But it is what it is. Jey Uso gets to be a world champion. R-Truth never even got an IC belt reign for as far as I'm concerned. I don't even think he never got a world title reign either, of course, But Jey Uso gets a world title reign because he can yeet. Yay, we're yeeting. Stop. Anyways, we then get the debut of Stephanie Vaquer, okay? Stephanie Vaquer basically comes out and she debuts on Raw. This is good to see because Stephanie Vaquer is great, okay? She's one of my favorite wrestlers in all of pro wrestling just in general. And so it's good to see her on Raw. This is pretty cool. She then proceeds to get her official debut. She fights against Liv Morgan and Ivy Nile in a triple threat match for the Money in the Bank qualifier. Obviously, Stephanie Vaquer is going to win this match via pinning Ivy Nile, which is obviously what happen at the end of the match. Throughout the match, we get the classic, the Booker T spot, you know what I'm saying? Where you can yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? So we got Stephanie Vaquer doing that. Other than that, the match was pretty much standard. There was some really good action to start the first 5 to 10 minutes of the match, and then it kind of just became pretty mediocre as it went on. But this was serviceable for the first part of it, and in the ending, I kind of tuned out. Nobody cares. Obviously, Ivy Nile takes the pin, and Stephanie Vaquer ends up getting the dub. So she will now be in the Women's Money in the Bank match on Saturday. So should be a good showing from her on Saturday. Hopefully, she cooks in that match. Should be pretty entertaining, and hopefully, this gives a boost to the Raw Women's roster because the Women's World Champion Io Sky has been featured maybe 1 or 2 times on Raw in actual segments or backstage segments at all since Mania. So she's done effectively nothing. So you know what I'm saying? So there you have it. Hopefully Io Sky can get booked better than this, but it is what it is. Then we move on from this. We get AJ Styles and Paul Heyman backstage, which basically just proves the point of this Seth Rollins faction is just stupid. Why would he basically tells AJ Styles, AJ, why don't you go focus on the Intercontinental Championship? Okay, explain this to me. Bronson Reed was just competing for the Intercontinental Championship multiple times last year in 2024, okay? And Braun Breaker was doing the same thing. He won the belt twice, which naturally means he should move up now to the main event scene and win a world championship at some point in the near future. And of course, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are now content with not looking for gold, not looking for championships, not even looking to win any mid-card belts, none of that. They're content with being mindless hive mind henchmen bots to help Seth Rollins win a B title. That is the B title to the WWE Championship, the main one that's on SmackDown. This is why this faction is a disaster. I don't even need to continue to that. That's all you need to know. It's as simple as that. Then we basically move on. We get the Judgment Day versus the War Raiders. We're skipping this because nobody cares. The War Raiders lose, nobody cares. Move on. Then we get Becky Lynch in a little video segment. Didn't even listen to this. I could care less, quite frankly. She basically was saying, that the whole narrative on this was that she was going to be sitting backstage while Lyra came out and cut her promo. And pretty much Becky Lynch had absolutely nothing to offer in this video segment, to be fair. Then we basically get, what was next, man? I think it was Stephanie Vaquer and Rhea Ripley backstage. All this was basically Rhea Ripley telling Stephanie Vaquer, I'll see you Saturday, and that's pretty much that, okay? So, I don't know what else to say about this. I'm sure everyone was excited for this, losing their minds all over the place. Cinema! Rhea Ripley! Stephanie Vaquer! It's gonna be a masterpiece, man. It's gonna be a 5-star classic, bro! It's a Meltzer classic, bro! Cinema! Pop H cooking! Cinema! Stop! We haven't seen them do anything. Neither of them has actually proven to be able to build great stories and great feuds consistently. So why in the world would I be excited for this? Because they're 2 of the top stars? So yeah, let me just get excited. That's not how it works. I need to see evidence, and I need to see an actual reason to care for this stuff. But, it's cool to see them backstage. I'm sure people are excited, so there you have that. Then we get Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch cutting a promo inside of the ring. And obviously, Lyra Valkyria basically rehashes the same thing. Out of everyone she's known, Becky Lynch has hurt her the most. She's embarrassed her the most. And Becky, I want you to come out here so you can hear hear what I have to say to your face. And then Lyra Valkyria, basically, when Becky comes out, she says, your fall off needs to be studied. She's using Gen Z humor and lingo at this point, you know? Your fall off needs to be studied, basically saying all those nonsensical things. And then the end of the promo basically consists with Becky Lynch reminding Lyra Valkyria that you will need to raise my hand once I beat you at Money in the Bank. As you can tell, this is a rehash of the same thing we've seen for the last 5 weeks at this point. Then we basically get to the end of this where they brawl up against the stage and then the segment just ends. That's it. If WWE puts in zero effort into their segments and into their matches and into their shows, why in the world would it not be easy for the audience to tell that these guys, that none of these people care at this point? You know what I'm saying? No one cares about this garbage. Nobody wants to see these garbage, lazily put together segments and matches. We just don't want to see it. If you're not going to give us your best, then don't do it at all. You know what I'm saying? It's as simple as that. So, that's basically that segment. Then we move on to Penta having a video segment basically saying, Cero Miedo, I'm going to win the Money in the Bank. I'm Penta. You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to do with this, man? Huh? I'm fed up with this garbage. Like, what am I actually supposed to say about this? Penta had a video segment and said, Cero Miedo. Yay, guys. Let's theorize about how Penta can win the Money in the Bank, which he's not going to. Come on. Now we move on from this. As you can see, we're already breezing through this show incredibly quick. We then have, Jey Uso and Sami Zayn versus Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. They debut a new theme for Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, which is actually a pretty cool way they segued from Bronson Reed's theme, where he got no pop, by the way. They segued from his theme into Braun Breaker's theme song. And by the way, both of these themes are pretty bad at this point. There's no real hype to them at all, and they're not really that interesting. And so because of that, when Braun Breaker comes out, the crowd is like just roofing and barking. That's all they can do. That's all they can do. They have nothing to do anymore. I mean, what are you going to say? Braun Breaker comes out, his theme sucks, so let's just bark. That's it. That's all Braun Breaker does now. He's a mindless hive mind bot, which we'll talk about in a second. But Jey Uso's entrance needs to be talked about. Him and Sami Zayn come out. They're wearing these glasses, you know what I'm saying? The yeet glasses and a glasses that says Sammy on it. Why should I care about this? They go down in the arena, and if you notice, there's always a kid strategically placed in the way of Jey Uso's entrance on the ramp. That way you can have the money shot of him yeeting with whatever kid, you know what I'm saying, is out there, so you can put a smile on the kid's face, which is good for the kid, but it's very forced. That's the problem. It's not organic. The kid's getting forced out of the crowd. Jey Uso's telling him, yeah, man, look at the camera. Yeah, it's over there, Oos. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Oos, look at that camera, little bro. You know what I'm saying, Oos? Oos. 5 letters, 1 word, trash. So Jey Uso basically does all of that, and they yeet. Him and Sami Zayn, they yeet and yeet and yeet. Then we get to the actual match, which I can't tell you a dang thing that happened in this match other than the fact that I was bored out of my mind. And after being bored out of my mind, we were then greeted with Jey Uso hitting some dive outside the ropes, which, he lands that on, like, Sammy, who was trying to do a crossbody, so they kind of landed. Everyone's knocked down at ringside. And then Seth Rollins comes out of nowhere and curb stomps Jey Uso. Then after this happens, they try and tsunami Sami Zayn through the announcer's table, and then Punk comes out with a chair, fights back and saves Jey and Sammy. No one cares about this. I kid you not, if they actually have a situation where Sami Zayn tries to side with this new faction, I'm done. And then he has a backstage segment with, guess who? Karrion Kross, who's relegated to only doing backstage segments. And that's pretty much that. Karrion Kross basically tells Sami Zayn, deep down, you're not a good dude. You're capable of doing very bad things to people. Again, what are we supposed to say about this? Why is a jobber in Karrion Kross trying to tell someone who's won multiple Intercontinental Championships how to win world titles? Do you get what I'm saying? Sami Zayn doesn't even fight back on this, too. He just sits there. He's like, well, you know what? You're wrong, man. I'm a good guy, man. And then just walks away. That's it. That's all we get. It's embarrassing at this point. Karrion Kross honestly should be released because they're not doing anything with him. It's not enough to see Karrion Kross backstage doing some random, some backstage segments. What is that going to do to elevate his career? He's just going to be someone who just only does backstage segments now? He's not R-Truth. You know what I'm saying? R-Truth can get a good in-ring match and then proceed to cut a good promo, or he can give you an all-time great comedic scene backstage. That's what he gives you. What does Karrion Kross give you? The same repetitive segment for 3 weeks straight, then disappears for 8 months, comes back, gives you the same repetitive segment 3 weeks straight, and then disappears for 9 months. He is not entertaining us. If you're going to be relegated to only backstage segments, you need to be entertaining us every single time. And that is why R-Truth shouldn't have been fired, because he maximizes every single role and, in storyline and opportunity that WWE in the booking gives him, and Triple H had gave him, and Vince McMahon gave him back in the day. So it just is what it is, man. But anyways, we then move on from this, and we get to the pretty much, I think that's the end of the show. No. It was Kairi Sane versus Raquel Rodriguez. I'm not even going to give this match respect of talking about it for more than 30 seconds. I recorded recorded some footage of it on my phone. The botches are just egregious. The punches look fake. The matches are phoned in. You know what I'm saying? Liv Morgan or Io, someone botched and Liv got her heads like cut open slightly. And it's just like, why can no one do moves correctly? Why is everyone botching everything? But then you think about it, no one's wrestling, so how can you hone your craft and develop your skills consistently? You don't. Then we get to the main event. I just finally caught up with this, by the way, and I saw that El Grande Americano, which is obviously Chad Gable. It makes no sense for this match to even exist at this point, because you know what the thing is? If Adam Pearce, who has obviously been revealed, Michael Cole knows it, Pat McAfee knows it, Adam Pearce knows it, it's been seen before, that they know that Chad Gable is El Grande Americano. So why would they give him a second chance to get into the triple threat qualifier for the Money in the Bank match? It's just an embarrassment. But ultimately, you know, El Grande Americano ends up winning this match. I don't even really care what happened, to be fair. After the match ended, the main event segment was basically Bronson Reed, Seth, and Braun Breaker coming out and basically beating the crap out of CM Punk, Jay, and Sami Uso. Or Sami Zayn, I guess I should say. Before this, we got a really bad backstage segment, though, before this whole main event match and everything happened. We got a really bad backstage segment with Gunther and Jay that just went on for ages. I was putting water away in my fridge, and I'm looking back at the TV, and they're still talking. Gunther is one of the most boring wrestlers of all time. And you mean to tell me that Gunther is just sitting there, you know what I'm saying? He's just chilling there backstage talking about some, Jay, I'm going to beat you, Jay. I'm going to beat you next week, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to beat you at half, you know, when you're at half health, Jay. You're going to be worn out, Jay. I'm going to beat you, Jay. And then Jey Uso gets up and goes 3 letters, 1 word, tap. And he like slaps Gunther's shoulder, which was pretty hilarious the way he did it. And then Jay like loudly threw a towel down at the ground. I'm like, what is this guy even doing at this point, man? Jey Uso is just booked like a clown, and that's what his character is, so it is what it is. This was funny, though, because of how laughably bad it was. If you saw it, you know what I'm saying? It's just so laughably stupid, man. Jay acts like a kid in storyline who's just getting bullied, and then he fights back against the bully, and he's still portrayed in storyline to look like a moron anyways. Like, it just doesn't work, man. It's just a disaster. But back to the main event segment, you know, Jay and Sami and Punk get beat up by Braun, Seth, and Bronson Reed, and that's pretty much how the show ends. I don't care about this. I really could care. I mean, what is there to say about this? Who's going to be the 4th member? Stop. You know what I'm saying? Nobody cares about this garbage. So this episode of Raw gets a solid 0 out of 10. And it's as simple as that. It's arguably one of the, if not the worst episode of Raw I've ever seen in my life, because nothing happened, nothing was creative, nothing was new, nothing was unique, and nothing was super intriguing or entertaining, as we're told how great business is, and how great business is booming, and how amazing things are, and we're not seeing any of that in front of our faces. Hence why Raw started off with 6 million global viewers on Netflix, and is now struggling to get 2.8 million consistently, because over half of the fans saw that product on opening night and tuned out because they know that WWE in its current state is horrible. And so with that being said, I thank you guys for watching. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out, and one love.